Hey guys, today we are talking about an animal that doesn't need an introduction, and no, it is not the killer whale or the leopard seal. What that animal is, we'll get to in just a minute. Okay, there you have it. We are talking about the penguin. Now, we tend to think of them as only living where it's cold and snowy, but that isn't always the case. Today, there are around 18 species of penguins, from the emperor penguin all the way down to the smallest penguin, the fairy penguin. The emperor penguin ranges in height of 3.6 to 4.3 feet, while the little blue penguin maxes out at around 15 inches at the highest. Some penguins spend as much as 75% of their lives in the water, which means that they only come on land to breed and to molt. Because penguins live where it's cold, and I mean cold, they need protection from it, and so they have 70 feathers per square inch. That's right, 70 feathers per square inch. They also have blubber, and we talked about that in an earlier video. Penguins form large colonies, with some having as many as 1 million penguins in one colony. All penguins are flightless and are perfectly adapted to life in the water. Now, you might be wondering why penguins appear to be wearing a tuxedo. That is called counter shading. And they're not the only animal that does this. Sharks actually do it, as well as killer whales and other marine organisms as well. Penguins are fed on by killer whales, leopard seals, and by sharks, though not necessarily blue sharks. Earlier in the video, I mentioned that not all penguins live in Antarctica. 2 species are known to live in Antarctica, while 3 others live at the tip of the continent, with 4 other penguins living on islands that surround Antarctica. That leaves other penguins that do not live on or around the icy continent. I'm not going to go through each of these species by name, but I will put in where they live. The Galapagos penguin lives in the Galapagos Islands, and I should add that there are no penguins that live in or around the North Pole. In fact, all penguins primarily live south of the equator. You may find Galapagos penguins above the equator, but primarily south of the equator. The Magellanic penguin calls Argentina home, as well as the islands that are close to the country. New Zealand is also home to penguins. In fact, there are 4 penguins that live in New Zealand. South Africa and 2 other African countries are home to yet another species of penguin. All penguins feed on squid, fish, or even krill, which is a small species of shrimp. Incubation periods vary from 4 weeks to 66 days. Many penguins may lay 2 eggs, while some focus on just 1 offspring. Typically, these animals live for 15 to 20 years. It's also important to note that 12 species of the 18 are on the IUCN list, which means that they are under protection. Also, all penguins that live in Antarctica are protected by international law. More on that at a later date. Lovely. And this brings us to the end of today's video. I hope you learned a little bit of something about penguins today. Have a good one, and remember to never stop learning. And goodbye.